Welcome to the next step in the journey of coming back from fear. Before we begin, as I mentioned in the last episode, we will begin each of these episodes with some breathing to calm us down out of our fight and flight mode. So before we start our reflection on the emotion of betrayal, let's take a moment to breathe in deeply through the nose for a few seconds. Hold your breath for a few more seconds, and then exhale out through the mouth for a few seconds. Repeat that as many times as you need to until you feel your heart rate slow and steady. If this is the first podcast you are listening to, where we're at in our path is stepping through a situation where an uncomfortable or stressful emotion was ignited and see how we can use our superpowers to change our perspective of the event. I will break down each of the superpowers and how they can be used after we talk about the circumstance that is heavy on our minds. The feeling of being betrayed is perhaps one of the deepest cutting emotions that we have. And I feel that it's because our fear ego defines so much of who we are by how those we trust treat us. When our trust is broken, it shakes the foundation of our beliefs about our lovability and our acceptability. We question our self-worth. The fear ego whispers in our ear that if we were worth enough to that other person, they would not have treated us that way. Whether it was being cheated on or treated poorly by how someone spoke to us or spoke down to us, or even by their lack of action toward us, like they didn't stand up for us with their parents or friends, or they forgot our birthday or our anniversary. Betrayal comes in so many forms and is reflected in so many actions. At least that is what our fear ego can manipulate us to believe. As I'm sure is true for many of you, I have several examples that I can pull from for this emotion of betrayal. I was cheated on a few times, and of course, I felt like I wasn't treated as the cherished one in several other relationships. As the song says, it appears that the first sting of betrayal cuts us the deepest. The surprise of it all puts us into sort of a shock where we have trouble processing that it actually happened. It is not supposed to happen. But right there it is. Our brain cannot war against reality and win, though it will try. We do go through many emotions when this first happens to us. The first being denial, trying to explain it away and searching for proof that maybe it didn't happen. But not finding that, we then can move into the crying and mourning phase as we prepare for the death of our relationship. Moving to anger, we can become vengeful, sometimes attacking the other individual, either verbally or sometimes physically. But eventually we do reach acceptance and begin to work through understanding what happened or stuffing it very deep into our minds until it's triggered later to deal with. Try to recall a situation of your own, remembering to breathe deeply as we do so, because we're not reliving the situation when we reflect. We're going to just witness it all as a guest. There is nothing wrong about the emotion, and we're not going to try to reject it. The purpose of this visit is to question and inquire into what really happened, what it really means about us and to us. So let's take a look at our first superpower. The power to laugh. As I mentioned before, I feel this is one of our greatest superpowers, because in that moment we make that conscious decision to laugh. We are flexing our muscles and showing our fear ego that I am going to do the thing that you would never expect. I'm going to smile. I'm going to giggle. I'm going to bust out laughing. Though we have been conditioned that so many things are supposed to devastate us or make us sad, we always, always, always have the power to choose differently if we want to. It is just a matter of remembering and making it our new practice. The stronger we become in remembering that we are powerful, supernatural beings made from unconditional love, and realizing that nothing external can match up to that unconditional love that we have inside us. Remembering all that, the easier it becomes to make a different choice. Looking back to the situation when I first discovered my first love was cheating on me, I can now smile and laugh and see how I empowered that situation to define who I was. The prop masters in my little drama I was putting on supplied an awesome sound of my heart breaking. That was about 20 years ago. And during all that time, I've had other amazing opportunities to learn about this feeling of betrayal. But now, because of all those, I am much more aware of my own self-love and also not as fragile. And that brings us to our next superpower, the power of thank you. With my conscious choice to have gratitude that this happened to me, I can see an opportunity to realize that every situation that happens to me in my life is for my highest experience. What? Why on earth would we come here and ask to be betrayed? Well, that's a great question. Back home, on the other side, there is complete trust in the unconditional love of others. We have no need to betray and are actually unable to feel betrayed over there because we don't look outside of ourselves for anything. We are everything over there. We're in full awareness that we have everything we need right inside of us, so we don't rely on anyone else to define us. Without being able to witness betrayal of trust, we don't quite see the depth of what trust is. So it is one of the big attractions that brought us to this science lab here on Earth. So I choose to be thankful for being able to have experiences that show me what unbreakable trust would look like, because I get to compare it right up against an unstable trust in external beings who are mainly being ruled by their fear ego. The situation also allows me to challenge my self-worth and is part of the wake-up alarm that triggers us to begin to question the validity of looking outside of ourselves for our wholeness. After enough disappointments, we generally will begin to search inward. We can also use the power of now to choose a different response to the situation. So much of our fears from these types of betrayals happen in the future. Our fear ego again whispers to us, but this time it's words like, "What will people think?" Or, "You won't ever find anyone else to love you again." Or it will throw us into the past memories and the past emotions of other betrayals that happened in the yesterdays, and it compounds all those emotions upon emotions so much that the echo from the past seems to become unbearable. Taking some deep breaths and calming ourselves, we come back to this moment. The past is done and is no longer within our control. Well, outside of going back through inquiry to see what really happened. That is within our control. The future is none of my business. Whatever will happen, will happen. I can trust in the knowledge that I have the power to choose how anything in the tomorrows will impact me, just as I have the same power in this very moment to decide how this situation will influence me. The now is where life happens, not the future nor the past. The power of no can come in strong here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I can choose to say no to the whispers of the fear ego, who is doing his job very well, trying to have me experience my lack of worth. Just say no. And number two, I can say no to the relationship if I want to. Sometimes that fear of not finding love again keeps us in a relationship that isn't healthy for us. So we can say, no, 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 no. But keep in mind that as I did, even though the first relationship ended, I continued experiencing the same situation over and over again because I had not woken up to realize my self-love, which is a perfect time for me to move into the final superpower, the power to question. In reflection, each of those individuals I perceived as betrayers were indeed my teachers. They reflected back to me who I thought I was and what I felt I deserved. One of the purposes of any individual we interact with is to act as a mirror, continually showing us what we need to see until we see it. Let me say that again. Anyone that we interact with is a mirror for us, and everyone will continually show us what we need to see until we see it. Their actions were just their actions. How I felt about myself is what I applied to their actions, and how I tinted them to mean who I was. We can never be betrayed because there are no rules in reality. There are only rules in our mind. So the betrayal happens only in our mind. When we believe the thought that someone should be totally committed to us and they aren't, then we experience sorrow, resentment, hatred, revenge, so many delicious, uncomfortable emotions. When we get to the root, we realize we betrayed ourselves. What? Yes, we betrayed our own heart by seeking unconditional love outside of ourselves. We cheated on our own self. Let that sink in. If anyone betrayed us, it was our own mind. It went outside of our heart to find some unstable, conditional love out yonder. But there is no betrayal, because our higher being, our spirit, our unconditional love being, never stopped loving us unconditionally. It was just a movie. But what if we feel we betrayed someone else? Well, there is no betrayal. Every moment we act out of unconditional love or we act out of fear, one or the other. Whatever state of mind and heart we are in that moment is how we are going to act. We can't act any other way when we are believing what we are believing in that moment. So let the guilt go. Let the wrath go. There is nothing to forgive. It's just a movie. Next episode, we're going to take on the feeling of boredom And if you felt that during this episode, well, that was your choice. So until next time, take a look at some of your feelings of betrayal and take a little visit. Make sure to breathe and maybe make a list of all your amazing superpowers. What an exciting journey. And remember, you never have to do anything you don't want to do.